So here we are, yet another video on how to do anything correctly. Um, and so we really are going for, like, I don't know, the broadest definition of correctly possible. How do we do the most correct thing, right? So the basic principle of when you're doing the most correct thing, you cease to do more things. It's sort of a death. You give up all of what you could have been and you start focusing on the most correct thing. And when you do that, you're only going to be doing whatever you're already doing, and you're going to do that more correctly. So the drive for innovation, the drive to do more things goes away. It's literally a death, and then you're focusing on, you're going to be doing what you can already do, but better. So no matter what you're doing, we can pick something really easy, like I don't know. Let's just move from over here. I'm going to have my hands and my eyes over here, and I want to move to over here. Right. So how do I move from here to here correctly? And fundamentally, this is the exact same question of, like, if you're here, let's say you're doing martial arts, how do I move from here to here? I want to be in that position. How do I move from there to there correctly? Let's say you're playing tennis, right? You're fundamentally, how do I move from here to here correctly? What is it? What does it mean to be correct? So it's mostly just your presence, and you'll see that if your present has these particular qualities about it, in terms of it has the qualities of what's actually happening. That's the qualities of your presence, attention, focus, and mindfulness. And so you can actually look at what you are, and you need to be thinking along those terms and feeling along those terms to actually be present. So you can kind of study yourself, see what's going on, and be like, okay, I'm water. You can get kind of scientific about it. I'm this. I'm blood, right? You're kind of wet though, like no matter what, you're really wet on the inside. There's a lot of fluid, and so your mind or your beingness, like, yeah, there's a lot of electricity in there. There's some bones. There's some, like, other stuff, but a lot of it's water. Most of it. And so your being is going to be like water, most of it anyway, right? There's some nuances and some minutia that, like, I can leave out, but the general shape is going to be like water. Like, where you are is shaped like how the water is. So you can use consciousness, or you can use water to discuss your consciousness, and you will get perfectly shaped metaphors all day long forever, just because of the nature of what's going on when you look at yourself and you see yourself looking and you ask, well, what's looking? Okay, I'm looking, a body's looking, body's mostly water. So you know that to rest into that is going to be kind of fluidic. And as you rest into that, feeling the fluidness, which is really just like you do it most when you're standing up. It's just non-doing. Once you can get people to do it, you've at least for that, just like sitting there is kind of that. So it's like, how do you keep that while you move? Like, how do we go from that stillness to that ready posture that was right here, right? And so as I perturb the system even at all to move it, it kind of will start to flow and go that way, right? And depending on those initial things and subsequent ones, you know, there's a lot of correct ways to go from here to here in which that totalizing stillness of silence is maintained. right? Not lost anywhere. And so as you do that, you're building up the mindfulness in your body. And what happens as you become more mindful of your body is that your sensation and your feeling awareness increases, right? And so you become able to recruit more muscles, sense more nuances in your posture. All sorts of stuff happens when you're like present. And when you get scattered, right? Like look at an athlete get distracted by something in the world. Look at people just have trauma, like whatever. Like they can be doing all the movements, but because there's a lack of stillness, there's a lack of correctness in those movements, and the movements are not fruitful. And so people can train for decades, and because they lack correctness, the training doesn't ever go anywhere. If somebody's training correctly, no matter who they are, right? And so if it's not just flourishing, like the water of the body is either going to be like rushing, totally smooth, steady, always going crazy downhill rapids, or if it's not moving, like if you're not progressing, if you're stagnant, if you're doing that correctly, you're identifying water, you're not stagnant, you are dead silent. Water doesn't stagnate. Things in water stagnate, but water does not stagnate. And so even if you're lazy, demotivated, whatever, like no matter what you're doing, no matter if the water is kind of moving along at a smooth pace, that's like cyclical, normal, motivational discipline sort of thing, or if it's like, whoa, driven, like a swiftly moving river or a waterfall just careening to its destruction, or a placid like lake not flowing, in any case, you're going to be doing it correctly by moving with the water. So it can crash, or it can be very inactive. Like you can be a very inactive person and be correct in the way that I'm talking about, but that inactivity has to be intense. It can't be inactivity with a bunch of mental activity. It has to be true inactivity. Basically, for anybody, whoever it is, your mental activity has to match your physical activity. And so the easiest way is to have moderate physical activity and then moderate mental activity, and you're not having to really take either one of them down to zero or max it out. So this sort of meditation is actually much easier than just sitting still. If you're in a normal situation, the actuality of your water, most people's water is progressing. You are flowing, you are going somewhere. And so practices with some movement tend to be more correct. Until you've arrived at your destination, then there might not be very much moving. It'll usually be very still, like a lake. Or if you arrive at your destination, it's often an ocean, and that movement is completely different. There's a lot of waving, there's a lot of crashing. You'll find that the water moving through a river has a dramatically different activity than the water in an ocean. Just really different. Right, and so that's the phase transition when you shift or arrive at different stages of consciousness. And so you're like a body of water, so even as you're there, like aspects of you can evaporate and sort of fall back down as rain and go down the river and do the thing again, but it was like that's not you. That's not you, that's just like your experience giving to being. Like everyone's not, what is it? There isn't a monad where like, oh, all is God, or you are everything, or whatever. There's a you, and then there's an infinite giving. which has the same, it's nearly the same effect as becoming everything, but it's like the ocean evaporating and giving to the rivers through rain. Like let's say it evaporates and then rains down. It's like did the ocean or did an aspect of the wave in the ocean reincarnate, you know? And then what comes down in the river? And so all water is either flowing somewhere or it's totally still. So if you start behaving correctly with your mind, you'll be present with what is, and you'll be present with that. Like water, like to the degree that consciousness is like water, then I can say like, oh, your consciousness is just like my consciousness, because the water in there is exactly the same. So the behavior of the water in terms of like, oh, if you get going this way, how do you slosh backwards and forwards? And like there's everyone's water, which is like 60, 70, 80% of what they are, is going to act identically. And that's going to have different stuff in it acting differently. So we're back to here, and we go, how do we get to here? And the other thing is this is basically your like power level. The degree to which you're embodied, since that increases your feeling awareness, like no duh. Like what happens when I start feeling my hand more? Oh, I start feeling my hand more. Oh, my hand was just, this used to be empty space here. Now I'm putting all my attention into it, and it's that space is thick with the presence of my being. My hand is there, and but like my left kneecap was totally empty until right now when I started directing attention into it, and then sensation starts to fill up and sort of inflate the area of my left kneecap and even around the left kneecap, right? Or I can go back to my hands. To where this was empty space until I focus, and now that space is full. I feel the left hand and all of its fingers. Whereas before it was empty, there was no feeling there, right? But then I put my attention right here, and then the feeling increases. So the crazy thing is that all of this is perceptual. So you are as much in this air or in this space around you as you are right here. Because this perceptual field, the whole image, the whole constructed kind of universe is happening in the water of the body, in your consciousness. It's happening in the body. And so as you feel your body more and increase the body awareness, not only does that increase the sensation of the body, but it increases the sensation of the perception in the body. So your perception of space, your perception of gravity, your perception of inertia, your perception of all that becomes thicker and thicker and thicker. And so it actually becomes like something, this mental space, the water, becomes something that you're always surfing. As it gets thicker and thicker, it's always pushing on you, you're always running into it, and it corrects your form. Like feeling it is correct form, so wherever you're feeling it is in the moment correcting your form, is doing that movement correctly. And so it's, it's right there. So what do you need to do to train it? But things like trampolines and water make it easier to feel. Really, trampolines are more like the fins in the water. So the trampoline does to you on land exactly what fins do to you in the water. and just a much more influential interaction with the grounding force. And so that's why people get so much benefit off of rebounding, is that it makes your grounding force just technically very good. Just like putting on fins makes your kick technically very good. And this principle is that's the principle behind that the hosing thing that I invented, the underwater breathing. Breathing underwater through a snorkel, the water pressure corrects the breath, or it corrects whatever you're doing. There's not that much to do if you're just in a tub. There's like you can get in a pool or an ocean, and that's crazy. And so getting into new places of consciousness or connecting them is, can have effects similar to like an ice bath, or like just different types of pain. Like imagine like really cold like water splatter, how it can like hurt. So like all the different like unifications of consciousness, like if you become fragmented, they come back together in these ways that it's all the water analogies are there. There's like stinging, cold, freezing, bitter, frothy surf sort of stuff. There's like there's heat that'll put you to sleep, like overly relaxing, lethargic, not noticeable. Like water is the best tasting thing in the entire world. Just straight water, and nobody everyone drinks it so often. It's like it's legit the best thing ever. It's like having the finest food and beverage like imaginable. Is what it is, and you can acclimate to it, and that's what happens to people in heaven. Right? Any consciousness state, you can just look at how much you've overlooked how incredibly delicious water is. You just savor every glass. You should be looking forward to drinking every glass throughout the entire day. And not only you don't even have to break it up into glasses. You could just constantly, you can have a water bottle. You can walk around with a water bottle, and then you have this fluid of life, the substance of your own being, just you can drink it all the time. It's the deepest communion possible, metaphorically anyway, or analogically, or like through the senses of like relatability, like water. And so it's just the most awesome thing. And notice it's not even a thing. No, nobody even cares. It's not a thing whatsoever. And that's like what heaven is like, or any good thing or any accomplishment. You forget about it as much as you've forgotten Like, think what's the most amazing thing you could eat or drink right now that would just like, oh man, like, and then that's what water used to be for you. It is. If you do the absence makes the heart grow fonder for even a couple of days, you're like, oh, water is it. It's delish. But you forget that, and so that's also what I think the reunion with God's love is like. Is that it's like it's that delish thing, but it's like water. It's the thing that you desire most, but it's just so forthcoming and abundant, so as to be not, you don't even pay attention to it, and so it goes away even though it's the most present thing there, and it makes up most of your body.